What's up, guys? DiplexHeated here again. Welcome back to Men of War Assault Squad 2, and welcome back to Call of Duty World War 3, and of course welcome back to Washington, D.C. Now, in the previous 3 videos that I released, we were actually attacking Washington, D.C. as the Russians during the initial invasion of the United States. Now we're gonna skip ahead in time again to where we kind of left off after we fought the Russians near Brookmere Road. We're getting ever closer to Washington, D.C. to finish the battle and to hopefully kick out the Russians out of our homeland, the United States of America. But before that, we are going to look at some of the side battles during the conflict. We have been following the 8th Armored and the U.S. Rangers there as they battle their way back to Washington, D.C., where they were initially kicked out of. But obviously, a lot of more people are involved in this conflict, and one of those battling groups would be the police force in the United States here on the East Coast. So we have the Washington, D.C. Police Department, and possibly also the or a police department in Northern Virginia. Anywhere near Washington, D.C., so to speak. And we're here with SWAT officers and regular police officers, and they're going to be battling a group of Russian loyalists. So, before the invasion, and this is something I'm making up myself, by the way, the Russians planted a lot of loyalists in America. You could call them tourists and visitors and whatever, but they were sent there with military training, and before the Russian invasion, they were given guns and they were told to simply sabotage and disrupt the overall order in the United States. And that was my phone. Hopefully that didn't make too much of a noise. So yes, they were, you can call them kind of sleeper agents, although they weren't really, they aren't really programmed just to kick in once they hear a code name. They were actually fully aware of their task, and they were just awaiting the Russian invasion itself. They had been planted in, some have been here for a month, some have been here for days, some have been here for weeks. Their numbers were not superbly huge, so to speak. I'm not even sure that's a word. They were in the thousands, and obviously that would help the Russian invasion. I'm pretty sure no tourist bureau in America would give notice to the fact that there's been a few, an extra additional percentage of Russian tourists this season. It's not like we're being invaded, So that went quite smoothly, and yeah, you can see them here with their guns that they have retrieved from the Russians, and some of them obviously had them before. Shipments went into harbors. They had loyal people in the harbors working in ports near Washington, D.C. on the East Coast, so they could smuggle in weapons and these pre-trained soldiers from Russia. So we are going to be simply today doing one of those side battles where we watch as the not the main fighting forces in this battle are fighting, but some of the smaller fighting forces, yet whose role is very important to the outcome of this battle. So we're going to be controlling the National Guard. The SWAT and the regular police officers here will be controlling themselves, and we're here to knock out the Russian loyalists planted in our country. There are more, but this is the biggest concentration of them yet. They've all gathered around here. So they've been also fighting and sort of, throwing Molotov cocktails at police stations and rounding up people. It's a bloody full-out war here on the East Coast. They're saboteurs. So we're gonna not exactly hang them up by the gallows, but we might put a little lead in them. So sorry for this long intro, but I really wanted to just kind of explain my idea behind this battle. Some of you have probably been like, oh, Diplex, just start already, but guys, you're missing out on the point, that extra deep value of story and lore behind the actual battle. So let's click start and let's watch as the battle commences. They're gonna be opening fire up there, and we are in control of the Nationales Gardes. I'm not sure that's how you put it. Alright, we'll unload one truck over here, and we're gonna send one section around the right flank. Let's move. And we'll just go ahead and, before we start controlling the National Guard more specifically, we'll just watch as the firefight evolves. So we got the National Guard coming in here, and we got the SWAT officers and regular police officers moving in. And they've made some progress up the main street here. We got some more troops on the side. So that was a rather quick and easy clean out down here in the middle. but there's a lot more loyalists further up. And there's a downed, like, Seahawk or something. Sikorsky? Isn't this a Sikorsky or something? I believe the Air Force One, or not Air Force One, but like the helicopter equivalent of Air Force One is that of that model. But that is definitely not the presidential helicopter crashed outside of McDonald's here in somewhere in Northern Virginia. Nope, that is not the case. Okay. Police officers are taking the lead in this battle so far. The National Guard are staying a little bit further back, awaiting more superior commands and orders. So we got the loyalists here, looking pretty shady. I mean, they're good fighters, and they're definitely fighting for their survival more so than perhaps a regular police officer. His outcome is not certain, but if the Russians lose their foothold in America, these loyalists will be hunted down, literally. You could call it a what do you call that? Which is like a public killing train. With pitchforks and stuff. There's a lynch mob. Got some AK-74U action there, and an AK-47 opening up with some of the flanking police officers. Down the main street, they're still holding it down. More SWAT officers and regular policemen are moving up. SWAT training definitely comes in handy here. Some of these men could be Spetsnaz trained, perhaps even FSB, or regular, maybe VDV or some Russian Navy troops. Not sure. Definitely not too much regular army soldiers over here right now because of the fact that their task is very delicate, and they have played a big role in the Russian invasion. In fact, planting these loyalists and infiltrating the U.S. before the actual invasion gave the Russians an opportunity to invade the country in the first place with getting all the ships to the harbor and such, and through cargo ships. And I mean, there were a lot of Russians also in the East Coast area around New York and stuff, like realistically too. So it's not like a small. There's a lot of Russians on the East Coast. It's not a small ethnicity, so to speak. In America, it's definitely not a. It's not a massive minority, so to speak. Anyway, it's besides the point of it. There we go. This gas station is starting to get cleared out, and you hear there's the insane battle going on back here. You got helicopters and bombardments and whatnot. Rangers are advancing. Hope you guys are enjoying this 60 frames per second gameplay as well. Okay, I'm gonna take quick command of my National Guard. NG. Roger that. Moving up. Roger that, I see him. Look at the commander there with the beret. That is awesome. National Guard taking the lead. Alright, bring in some extra troops over here as well. They're not breaking through, boys. We got them. Just keep pushing up. Don't give up. Yeah, some Russians putting a lot of fire from that side at us. See if we can just mass with firepower here and just... There we go. Grenades coming over the wall. We're going to engage some of the soldiers who are kind of just standing around there. There we go. They weren't fully alerted. Perhaps they were loading up the truck with weapons and stuff. They're shot down by some National Guardsmen there quite efficiently. Very nice.
Copy that. I'm on it. Affirmative. Contact 3 o'clock. Cover me.
Still moving up my National Guardsmen. We got a few Russians back there. We're going to go ahead and take him out. We're going to engage at range and reap the fruits of the action. Let's see. Where is he? Really suppressing back there. At least we're giving leading fire to where he is. He's pulling back, but he's down. Good. Let's look at the map. And we have secured the area. We're going to dig down now and wait a possible counterattack. See you guys in a second. The Loyalist counteroffense has begun. They're attacking two different parts here. We've set up our defense in two sections. Currently being attacked. We've got the right flank here where we came from, defended by the police officers. Trying to hold it down. They're taking cover behind cars and ammo boxes and whatever cover they can find. The Loyalists are on their way. And over here down towards the middle, we've got our own National Guard defense set up. The Loyalists back behind the roadblock back there and back in the forest line are kind of awaiting their friends on the other side to make more progress towards the center for them to start their counterattack. But I'm not going to wait for that. So I'm going to open up some fire and force them to engage so we can kill them at a distance and when they are not at their strongest. So there we go. We're opening fire. I'm going to take superior command of the police force. We're currently being kind of pushed out. We've lost the center here, and there's more nationalists coming down, or loyalists rather, well, whatever you want to call them, coming down the street there. I want to try and prevent them from flanking out the police officers here entirely, so we're going to set up this defense differently. Get my guys up behind the these boxes here and make sure the officers are in protection and in cover. There we go. That should, and then we're just going to face them in that direction, should give them the opportunity to shoot the Russians before they get too close. The attack from that side has been pretty much deflected. No real movement from them right now. We did engage them at a right time, so we were able to catch a lot of them out in the open where they didn't anticipate us to bring the fight to them. We're going to relocate some of these troops, put them on the right flank, and have them ready to attack the Russians coming down that main road. That's going to be rather nasty. Look at the amount of loyalists coming down. This must be like the last and the final chapter of loyalists in this in this area, so to speak. And a chapter, what I mean by that is basically like a club, an organization, you know, a chapter. There's barbecue chapters, there's, you know, motorcycle chapters, whatever you want to call them. Perhaps this isn't exactly a club, but you know what I mean. The last group of loyalists in this area coming in to counterattack their recently lost positions. And over on this side, it's looking pretty thin, but they do have a few more. I'm going to take, just for the sake of this video and this attack, take control on some of these loyalists and bring them up. Bring them up a little closer. Now that the attack has actually begun, I think it'd be quite cool if we brought them up close. They do have cover by the truck there if they can get there. But the focus of the American defense swifted quite quickly to the left there. So unfortunately, my maneuvers to get them closer and where they could actually do some damage to the quite heavily defended or fortified Americans was in vain. That did not work, and the two remaining soldiers are going to probably stay back for the remainder of this battle. That was a pretty instant, swift of focus. How's it looking over here? Are we still not engaging the enemy over there? We gotta take him out, boys. We're not gonna let him walk around over here. Let's issue a counterattack on this side. Let's get some National Guardsmen over the wall. Let's bring it up to some further cover down here. Let's get some more troops over the wall. Moving up, boys. Oh, you got like a bloody AC-130 back there opening fire. Pretty tense stuff. Moving up, boys. Police force.
Roger, I got it.
You guys ready to move up too? All right, let's push them up, guys.
Enemy down.
Getting over the wall. There we go. To the next cover, guys.
Roger. Solid copy.
Solid copy. Let's move with these guys here as well. It's cool when they... Oh.
I'm tracking. Target acquired. Roger.
Okay, I'm going to have these guys
Let's go.
focus on knocking out the opponents on that side now.
Move up. Yeah, I see him. Target.
So you can throw a grenade over there. That'd be fun. Okay, so the other two, well, they kind of gathered outside. I don't think they're going to commence any further attacks. I'm going to just assign a few of these groups of National Guardsmen to...
Copy that.
I'm not sure if you call them National Guardsmen. They're part of the National Guard, but I don't think you call them Guardsmen. But we are going to just finish up the battle here. The counterattack was decent. They killed a lot of police officers. I don't think they were expecting a counterattack in the counterattack. The men back here were kind of perhaps just guarding the perimeter and keeping an eye out for further U.S. reinforcements, but they were knocked out quite quickly.
Roger, I got it.
There are a few more soldiers retreating out there. We're going to chase them out with what we have left here. We're not leaving a single one of these loyalists alive to corrupt our country from within. But it's been a very hectic battle. As my troops and soldiers and policemen, rather, finish off the battle, let's have a look at the casualties here. My casualties will be represented in yellow. And as you can tell, there's just a lot of policemen and National Guardsmen who have died here today. Even more loyalists, so to speak, and especially during the counterattack where they were gunned down in large numbers. Despite their actual large numbers at a start, the police have done very good, but they did lose a lot of members trying to hold off the right flank, and only a handful, literally only a handful of policemen have survived the battle. And they were definitely in a majority, so to speak, as we started. So I'm going to knock out the last loyalist and wrap up the battle. I hope you guys enjoyed this slightly special battle, and I'll see you guys soon again. Bye.